Gay Paris. Welcome to Gourmet Getaways, and our very special guest on this exciting European edition is a lady as lovely as this captivating city, the very special Susan Lucci.
Thank you,
now, what
Robin.
draws you most to this unbelievable city?
Oh, there is so much here. I always wanted to come to Paris, April in Paris, because of the romance, because of the romance of that song, April in Paris, and I thought, oh, what a perfect time. But really, I mean, the beauty of the city itself, the food.
It is spectacular, isn't it?
Oh, yes. I want to come back and just take pictures of the doorways and all the details on the buildings. And
how is your French?
not very good.
But good enough to order great food and great wine?
Oh, yes. All of my French comes back when I see those menus. The food is spectacular.
All right. Well, in contrast to the city of Paris, we're also going to go visit Burgundy. We're going to meet some of France's best chefs and tour the great hotels of the Ritz and Bernard Loiseau. So, stay with us as we continue. Are you ready for the time of your life?
Oh, I am. Paris in springtime, here we come.
Let's do it. When we think of France, many images come to mind, but first and foremost, it's food and wine. It's here in a country of stunning scenic surroundings, fabulous haute couture fashions, and a vast wealth of wonderful wineries that we find the world's best chefs and all the ingredients necessary to make premier cuisine.
The food is an extension of the artistry in France. Both in presentation, but also in the quality, it seems to me, of each ingredient. A simple thing like a chicken sandwich, which I had here at the Ritz the first day I arrived for lunch. I ordered a chicken sandwich because I wasn't very hungry. I could have eaten 12 of those chicken sandwiches because they were so perfectly done.
One of France's foremost food authorities is an American living in Paris, Patricia Wells. She's the author of The Food Lover's Guide to France and the restaurant critic of the International Herald Tribune.
We think of French food as being very classic and complicated and overly sophisticated, but in truth, the day-to-day meal of a Frenchman is really quite simple. One always says that the simplest foods are the most difficult to prepare, and the French are masters at that because they always, they'll sift it one more time or strain it one more time. Just do that extra little thing so that it just has that much more flavor.
Is it just the extra effort that makes French cuisine the world's best?
Why is France so wonderful? Why does it have this reputation? Well, part of it is simply geography. France has the mountains for wonderful cheeses and hams. It has pastures for growing wheat. We have fish, shellfish, the breads, the cheeses, the meats, the poultry, and on top of all that, the tradition, the respect for the ingredients. I read someplace the other day that there's 600 varieties of strawberries grown in France. What more does one need in life, right?
Right. Patricia advised where to go and what to get if you're looking for a true taste of Paris.
Here we are at Fauchon on the Place de la Madeleine in the heart of Paris. And of course, if you come to Paris, if you come to France, you have to sample a wonderful, crispy, crunchy, fragrant baguette. Here we have one. It's called a demi-baguette, a little half baguette. And what you have to do when you buy it is open it up, put your nose right in it and get a good smell. Look at the color. It's nice wheat, fragrant. The exterior is nice and crispy. The inside is just a little bit soft. Wonderful for eating just like this, or slicing in half, spreading with a little bit of butter. For lunch, for a sandwich, it's fabulous to make a sandwich mixed with a little bit of ham and a little bit of cheese. And voila. Think of terrines and pâtés simply as glorified meatloaf. We have an incredible selection here, seasoned with rabbit, with guinea hen, with duck, with chicken, some with poultry. We have a Calubiac of salmon. All of these can be sliced very thinly, eaten as a snack or as a first course with little cornichons or with a little green salad, and you have a perfect little French lunch.
The key to great eating in France and in fact all over the world is to buy fresh, seasonal ingredients, and in Paris there is an abundance of places for exactly that. Susan Lucci, author of the French Farmhouse Cookbook, guided us through a maze of shops.
In Paris, most people do not go shopping in a supermarket. Instead, they visit many different specialty shops to get their meat, their cheese, their bread. Today, we're at a specialty shop. It's a shop that specializes in seafood, mostly from France, but from all over the world. And one thing you notice is that fish in France is sold on the bone. And if you don't want the bone, the fishmonger will cut the fish whatever way you want it. Now, you can't smell this shop, but I can't smell it either. There is no smell here because the fish is so fresh and wonderful. Now, over here we have fresh tuna, which surely comes from the south. We have trout, which are farm-raised. There is a farm-raised salmon, which comes from Norway. Over here we have a very French specialty, frog's legs. They're put on a stick like this. They're always sold. They're folded up. You put them on a stick. You can either cook them on the stick or take them off. They're best sautéed in butter with a little bit of salt and pepper and lemon juice. They're wonderful. The best thing about fish markets in France is that you want a fillet, you get a fillet. You want a steak, you get a steak. You get whatever you want. And a French person will go buy the fish 15 minutes before they're going to cook it. So it doesn't have time to age at all. It's perfectly fresh on the plate. Okay, this is Pâtisserie Store, one of the best pastry shops in all of Paris. Come on, let's take a look. Here we have typical pain au chocolat, which normally has 2 sticks of chocolate running through the middle of a wonderful flaky dough. These are pain au raisin, probably the most common pastry in all of France. This is a brioche, which is a buttery, eggy loaf that can be eaten as a snack or eaten normally for breakfast or for the 4 o'clock snack.
During the next par excellence hour of Gourmet Getaways, learn many more tips about the secrets of great French cuisine as we visit the world-renowned Ritz-Escoffier cook. Gourmet Getaways and the sights and sounds of the fabulous and fashionable French capital.
Well, Paris is known to be a city of love. That's what it's known for, and it's true. The first thing I saw when I came to Paris was couples everywhere, and it adds to the ambiance, certainly. And my husband and I definitely wanted to come here. We always talked about coming to Paris in April, especially because spring in Europe and Paris in particular is so beautiful, and it was.
The River Seine is the lifeline of Paris and a great place to launch a sightseeing tour. A private boat ride can be très romantique and provides great views of some of the city's best-loved landmarks.
This is the Eiffel Tower, obviously one of Paris's most famous sites, that was built in 1889 for the World Exhibition by Gustave Eiffel. A lot of people from all over the world come to Paris to see the Eiffel Tower. Absolutely. To the right here, we have the Musée d'Orsay.
So magnificent.
Going to the southwest.
Beautiful.
To your left, you have the Louvre.
If you spent 30 seconds with each painting in the Louvre, you would have to be there for 6 months.
I believe it's true. Like I said, there's over 300,000 works. We are approaching the Ile de la Cité and Ile de Saint-Louis, 2 islands that are in the middle of Paris. It's actually 17th century architecture. A lot of writers and a lot of artists actually live here, and it's for people who appreciate old Paris. Mm-hmm. We are approaching the Notre Dame, and this is a prototype of all large Gothic cathedrals. In the front and along the sides, we're going to be able to see the modern glass that was designed by Le Chevalier.
Notre Dame is breathtakingly beautiful, and I could see such whimsy in this very formal, obviously Gothic cathedral, but there are statues climbing up the back on a little staircase going up to one of the turrets. How wonderful that the people who were building this, and it wasn't easy to build in those days, I'm sure, still had such a sense of humor and charm about them that they would do such a thing.
Back on land, check out historical landmarks such as the Hôtel des Invalides, a hospital which dates back to the 17th century. It houses the tomb of Napoleon. Equally imposing, the vast Place de la Concorde. It was once the bloodiest sight in all of Paris, where the guillotine beheaded thousands, including the King of France, Louis XVI, and his queen, Marie Antoinette. One of Paris's most well-known sites, the Arc de Triomphe, commemorates Napoleon's military successes. It marks the city's busiest intersection and leads into the most recognized avenue in the world, the Champs-Élysées. Try driving around that backwards. At the Place Vendôme, you will find the Height of Haute. It's the most chic address in Paris and perhaps the entire world. This magnificent 17th century square is a fitting home for such luxury boutiques as Cartier, Boucheron, Buccellati, and Giorgio Armani.
Want to see me run to Chanel?
Next door to the Chanel boutique is the building where Coco Chanel herself lived for the last 35 years of her life. It's one of the world's premier hotels.
Walking into the Ritz certainly lived up to every glamorous, beautiful expectation I had of the experience. The building itself is remarkable in its architectural detail, all the gilt, and everything in beautiful, beautiful repair. Everything up to the minute and sparkling and beautiful.
César Ritz was the patron saint of the Ritz. His vision, to make guests feel like princes, providing them with all the pleasures of their own palaces. He succeeded completely and the term Ritz style was born.
The Ritz is certainly known as one of the most fabulous hotels in the world. The name Ritz is in fact the definition of elegance and luxury and classical beauty.
The Ritz's timeless charm and ornate decor are ever present throughout the Ritzy Hotel. And Hemingway, of his namesake bar, once said, "When I dream of heaven and paradise, I'm always transported to the Ritz." Each room at the four-star palace is uniquely decorated.
I was very interested to see the Coco Chanel suite. I love the designs of the House of Chanel, and they're classically beautiful, and especially I think as we end this century, to see where she lived for so much a part of this century, and knowing that she was alive in the 20s in Paris. The 20s in Paris had to be a fabulous time. And with that in mind, to see how really contemporary her taste in furnishing is, I think is quite amazing if you think of her taste back in the 20s. A very neutral color palette, very overstuffed, beautifully done sofas and upholstered pieces, but contrasted with very dramatic, mostly black pieces that are oriental and really very artistically placed. Again, you can see the woman was a designer. It's evident in the way she decorated her apartment.
One must shop La Galerie, a quarter-mile promenade of luxury shops within the Ritz.
I know this is a very dangerous-looking walkway because there are so many beautiful things here on display to buy.
That's for sure.
But I was reading that César Ritz, the man who started Ritz Hotel, bought the second building, which is back there, and his wife thought he was crazy because people wouldn't walk that far. And so he said, no, I'll make the walkway so entertaining and so beautiful that they'll never know how far that they were walking. And he made this just a walk of treasures.
He certainly did.
In 1979, Harrods honcho, Mohammed Al Fayed, purchased the Ritz. And for $250 million, spent over 9 years, he restored the hotel to its original splendor, adding grand new amenities, including the Ritz Health Club, featuring the largest, most elegant indoor swimming pool. In all of Paris, it's decorated in sumptuous Roman bath style. And the Ritz-Escoffier École de Gastronomie Française, a cooking school for all food lovers, novices and professionals alike. Don those aprons and toques. It's into the kitchens of the Ritz-Escoffier Cooking School. Next on Gourmet Getaways. Stay with us. Merci. He's in Gay Paris. The legendary Ritz Hotel has a long-standing culinary tradition that dates back to the hotel's founding at the turn of the century. The hotel's first chef was Auguste Escoffier, one of the most illustrious cuisiniers in the history of cooking. As Escoffier once said, good cooking is the basis of true happiness. Sounds good to me. Cheers. The Ritz wanted to share Escoffier's teachings and philosophies with all cooking enthusiasts, whether amateur or professional. So voila, the Ritz-Escoffier Culinary School was born. Monsieur Jean-Philippe Zahn runs the entire show.
We have classes from 1 week up to 30 weeks. So the different classes are cuisine, French cuisine, or pastry. As you saw, the classes are very small classes. We welcome only 8 students in pastry and 10 in cuisine. That is why it makes the school very different.
The Ritz-Escoffier provides varied levels of instruction. Susan Lucci and her husband, Helmut Huber, a former chef, are set to move to the top of the class.
There's a nice jacket and apron. Okay, thank you. You cut it the long way, like this.
The school is so highly regarded that students from all over the world fill its classes. Can't parlez-vous français? Not to worry, classes are taught in French with simultaneous English translation. Looks like Susan has encountered a fellow American.
Nice to meet you.
Pleasure to meet you.
I see a variety of nationalities represented.
Yeah, we have South America, Australia, Japan, Mexico.
Is everyone a professional here?
No, not really. We have all sorts. We have people that are just interested in it, and they're very sharp. They're as sharp as the professionals. I was very surprised to see that. And then we have some professionals as well.
What are the important basics that are taught to all students?
There's just so many steps, but really organization, making sure everything is flavored and you taste everything. That your ingredients, first and foremost, are the most important thing. You start with a very good base. Really just treat things individually, each item you have, and you make sure you build from that.
Knife up and down.
From chopping and dicing 101 to the meticulous measurements of the pastry class.
Now here we are in the pastry shop. Good morning.
Yum, yum,
I know
yum.
we're not making
Good
apfelstrudel. That's for sure. These are small patty shells.
And again, all the care to the preparation.
And everything's done by hand, as you can see.
So beautifully done.
Each student works diligently at preparing the perfect patisserie.
How long have you been here
This
studying?
is my 6th week,
Oh, I see.
and we're doing cuisine and pastry, so I'm learning both. And I have a lot more to learn about pastry than
But you have a background in this area.
Not really.
No?
No,
Is this your
I'm
first
doing this
cooking
for
course?
fun.
Oh, interesting.
Yes.
This is just a picture in and of itself, these beautiful vegetables here. My husband has always told me the eye eats before the stomach, that the presentation is very important. Is this part of the presentation?
Is definitely true, you know, because the most important first when you get your appetite going, it's just the presentation, and you can have two dishes, exactly the same, you know, dish, appellation, but two different plating. One will just, you know, get your appetite going, the other may not.
Demonstrations are also offered alongside hands-on classes. These workshops give students a chance to study up close the culinary secrets of the Ritz-Escoffier's chefs, including those of Michel Roth, the head chef of the Ritz's 2-starred Espadon restaurant. As an appetizer, Chef Roth prepares sautéed morel mushrooms with shallots and green asparagus tips in tarragon cream sauce for his students. The chef demonstrates in French, while a junior chef translates his instructions into English. The dishes that are prepared for the students are also available for lunch or dinner in the Espadon restaurant. Chef Michel Roth chose succulent rosemary-scented red mullet fillets paired with braised cherry tomatoes and miniature fennel with licorice-flavored star anise for the main course. Susan, Helmut, and I are lucky enough to taste these wonderful Roth creations. To Paris, to the Ritz Hotel.
To the
Yes, to Paris,
Definitely.
Ritz.
And to red mullets. Welcome back to Gourmet Getaways in the captivating countryside of France. The beauty, history and charm of French wine country comes alive in Burgundy. Located less than 2 hours from Paris by TGV or bullet train, Burgundy is France at its most picturesque with its colourfully tiled roofs, ancient city walls and vineyards that sweep along the region's gently rolling hillsides. Chateau Marceau Vineyard, located just outside the city of Beaune, is one of the largest and most highly regarded vintners in Burgundy. Marceau's owner, Dominique Lafont, finds picking just one perfect vintage bottle of Marceau a true challenge.
I would pick maybe a few in the last vintages. 95 whites are exceptional, so was 92 and so was 89.
Dominique continues to produce perfection in his Marceau wines.
So this is the proprietor's reserve?
In a way, yes, but we share.
Take a sip and tell me what you look for in that first taste.
When you start tasting, the first thing you should do without moving the glass is smell. Because the first smells are the lightest and the more elegant.
This is a full body wine as compared to a light white wine.
Meursaults are supposed to produce round and full-bodied wine. They are dry, completely dry.
One of the most important commercial centres for wine in Burgundy is the city of Beaune. Tucked away amongst many of the world's finest vineyards, this sleepy town offers hidden treasures like charming narrow streets to explore and naturally the pervading atmosphere of wine everywhere you turn. The city is home to the house of Joseph Drouhin, which has been making fine vintages for over 100 years. Drouhin's massive Gothic cellars, hidden under the streets of Beaune, date back to the 13th century and boast vaulted ceilings and magnificent Gothic architecture.
Hello. Hello again.
Hi. Are we really underneath the city?
Just under the houses. I don't know the house about, but...
And how old is this? How long has this been here?
This is the oldest part. This is from the 10th century.
10th century.
Here we go.
Okay. Oh my goodness. What is this?
This is not a museum. It still works.
Really?
No. This is an antique wine press built in 1570. We just cleaned it for the centennial of the house in 1990. We just put it back in order and we pressed some grapes here.
The winding streets of this charming town lead to the famed Hospice de Beaune. From the Middle Ages through present day, this beautifully decorated hospital has taken in and cared for the sick. Over the centuries, the hospice has received more than 150 acres of vineyards from wealthy patrons, making it proprietor of some of the world's most famous and most coveted wine-producing lands.
We are here into the Hospice de Beaune, God's Hotel.
God's Hotel.
And the place was an ancient hospital built in the medieval times, 4043.
Oh my goodness.
Thanks to the Prime Minister of the Burgundy, Nicolas Rollin. And he dedicated this Hospice de Beaune, God's Hotel, to the sick and the poor persons.
Oh.
Well, actually, at the end of his life, he wanted just to make a little bargain with God so that he could have a seat in the paradise.
Tell me about the roof.
The roofs?
Yes.
So the roofs are made of glazed tiles. It's a typical pattern of Burgundy, and it is our flag, I would say. You've got different colors in these roofs. You've got the brown for the ground. You've got the green for the green of the vineyards. You've got the red for the red of the wines, and you've got the gold for the sun.
Magnifique. With so much to see and do in the nearby towns and surrounding countryside, what better way to take in the views than by bicycle? Rachel Fuchs is the owner of Inside Tracks, one of Burgundy's leading biking and walking tour companies.
Biking is really the romantic choice in France because it allows you to go very slowly and to see all the detail that the region has to offer. You're not behind the wheel of a car and going really fast, but you're really taking your time and seeing all the vineyards, smelling all the smells, seeing all the wildflowers on the sides of the roads, and that's really what makes it a very special way to get around.
Something to see is François Frère, France's premier wine barrel making company. The traditional workshop still makes wine barrels, just as coopers or barrel makers made them back in the Middle Ages.
I think most of us think about tasting wine, and that's a great part of wine, but we got to see, in addition to the vineyards and also the caves, we got to see how they make the barrels that the wine is aged in. They're made out of oak. Well, first of all, they split the oak trunks. Other men are cutting it on a buzzsaw, and what they call a fire room, full of little bonfires. They put all of these barrels over them, but they're not barrels yet, just all the wood. And they bend them because they get soft, and then they put the steel bands around them. And I learned that these oak barrels are put on the bonfires not only to bend the wood, but because the wood needs to be toasted to a certain degree. And all the great vineyards of the world order these barrels from this company in this small town. Depending on which wine they're going to age, they're aged in barrels that have been toasted to a certain degree.
And a rest amongst the grapes is the perfect place for a picnic.
Now, could anything be more incredible than this?
No,
This
it's
is unbelievable.
wonderful.
The wines, the Burgundy wines of Joseph Drouin. I guess this is a typical French picnic. So we drink to Vive la France and Vive le vin de Burgundy.
Drink to that.
Cheers.
Absolutely, cheers.
Do we all agree?
Oh.
Wonderful.
C'est magnifique.
C'est magnifique.
From wonderful wines to fabulous food, one of France's superstar chefs showcases his kitchen and his hotel as we cook up 3 extraordinary delicacies when Gourmet Getaways returns in just a moment. Stay with us. The highest honor that can be awarded a restaurant are the 3 stars given annually by the prestigious Michelin Guide. Among them, Bernard Loiseau's La Côte d'Or. Bernard and his wife Dominique operate the spectacular restaurant that's become a favorite of gourmands from around the world. The charming inn and boutique are treasures of the quiet village of Saulieu, deep in the heart of Burgundy.
I was extremely busy working on all my children before I had the opportunity to come on this trip, and I had meant to read up on Burgundy. And I knew it was, of course, wine country, but that's really all I knew. It was kind of a fun way to come because I didn't have any expectations, and everything was a surprise to me. Bernard Loiseau has a very charming inn. They call it an auberge here in France. What I found was incredible service, not only the charm that you might find in the countryside. Certainly there was charm and warmth and graciousness, but a high degree of professional service.
The inn had been famous before the arrival of Bernard in the 1950s when it was headed up by famed chef Alexandre Dumaine.
So Bernard came in 75. He was an employee first, and he bought it in 82 with 2 stars. And so we started with a new hotel, Relais et Châteaux. We built 10 Relais et Châteaux rooms. We bought the garden, and in 90 we built a new restaurant over gardens.
Très joli, oui. The rooms at the inn are truly splendid, elegantly appointed. They overlook the green rolling hills of Burgundy and the inn's quiet garden. Next door to the inn is the Bernard Loiseau boutique, where guests can purchase Loiseau's kitchen utensils and gift items aplenty.
And of course it has to.
Looks like Susan has found the perfect chapeau.
So,
Loiseau is also home to a 30,000 bottle cave featuring a variety of Burgundian wines as well as the best vintages from around the world. But it is Loiseau's world-famous restaurants which really draws the crowds.
I had heard of Bernard Loiseau's remarkable reputation of being a Michelin 3-star chef in France. What I didn't know is, in addition to being a great chef, that he cooks mindful of people's health.
When Bernard started in Paris in 73, he tried to cook with less fat and less sugar. And after now 20 years, I think now he has his own style, a lot of taste and less sugar and less fat in the food, but very tasty food.
We would say that that was a radical change over what we know French classical cuisine for.
Sure, I think during 10 years people say this is a crazy man. He's not really, he doesn't cook French, you know. He said, and maybe the Michelin didn't believe in him because it was so different, cooking without cream, without flour, without wine. That was not normal cuisine.
The day, Bernard, that you were awarded your 3rd Michelin star, were you the happiest man in the world?
Oh, yes, and
fantastique. Champagne
for everybody.
Tout le personnel.
It was a very big thing.
Into the kitchen. Get ready to take notes on Chef Loiseau's light but incredibly flavorful cooking. As in all restaurants of this caliber, it is the restaurant's sous chefs who prepare the basic ingredients for each dish. It's Bernard's role to oversee the preparation. The first is incredibly simple. Scallops served in their shells with a truffle dressing, all prepared without cream. For the truffle sauce, you'll need grapeseed oil, truffle and lemon juices, and truffles. Mix everything together in a blender, add salt and pepper, sel et poivre, and set aside. It's that easy.
Ça, c'est les coquilles Saint-Jacques.
Coquilles Saint-Jacques, which in English is scallops, and these are very thick, fat, rich scallops.
Voilà. They have been quickly seared in the oven for just 5 minutes.
And we are presenting them on a bed of rock salt.
4 par personne.
This is 4 scallops for 1 person. And in here we have truffle juice, juste truffle.
Voilà.
Formidable. Ooh, extraordinaire. C'est fantastique. So this is a very healthy, light cuisine appetizer to start the meal. It sounds rich, sounds complicated and difficult, but it is in fact, as you've seen, very, very simple, and the actual preparation, less than 60 seconds.
Cuisine naturelle.
So there we have the first exciting and very interesting appetizer of our 3-course meal. Safe to say that when you're dining in the presence of a superstar chef here in France, you are always going to have one more little special taste treat between the appetizer and the entree. And Bernard here has created lobster with cabbage. Monsieur, s'il vous plaît.
You'll need lobster, chopped cabbage leaves, boiled and pressed cabbage leaves, tarragon, and diced shallots. Boil the lobster, then set it aside. To prepare the stuffing for the cabbage, add butter, meat from the lobster's claw, and chopped cabbage to a heated pan with pepper and salt. Then wrap the mixture in the pressed cabbage leaf. For the corral sauce, saute the lobster heads in butter with shallots, tarragon and water. Remove the lobster heads and then add the coral or lobster roe. Reduce and stir before liquefying the sauce in a blender. Finally, saute the lobster meat in a buttered pan.
That is the cutest little cabbage that I have ever seen in my life. And this is the coral sauce from the mixture of the lobsters. The elegance of this is in its simplicity. And literally anybody, including I, could do that. And the colors, magnificent and royal. Just what you'd expect from a 3-star Michelin chef.
Thank you, Vin.
And we finish off our specialities with roast pigeon paired with duck foie gras.
So extraordinary to look at, so incredible to eat. And I think if we invite Susan and Helmut to come down, we will join them in the dinner room. All right?
Okay, okay.
A meal like this must start off with a traditional bubbly.
Time for champagne wishes.
That's right, and caviar drinks.
Usually before Bernard eats, he smells.
Comme ça? C'est merveilleux.
And when you...
This is wonderful. No butter, low fat.
A toast to Burgundy's master chef, Bernard Loiseau.
Burgundy!
Burgundy.
If food and wine are the true soul of the French countryside, then Paris is the heart. Headquarters for action, excitement, fashion, and perhaps the world's best chef. Meet Alain Ducasse when Gourmet Getaways returns in just a moment. Stay with us. 2 hours from beautiful Burgundy sits the fabulous French capital. Ah, Paris. The romance, the elegance, the sights, but oh, the food! From the simplest cafe fare to the hottest of haute, this city has it all. Speaking of French cuisine, it's time to meet up with the man who is unquestionably Paris's top toke. It may look like an ordinary Parisian street just steps away from the Trocadero and the Eiffel Tower, but it's here that we find a palace, perhaps the world's best food, and certainly with the world's best chef, Alain Ducasse. In May 1998, Alain Ducasse became the most starred chef in all the world, receiving 3 stars from the much-vaunted Red Michelin Guide. Ducasse is the first chef in nearly 60 years to win 6 of the coveted Michelin stars at one time. It's no surprise, then, that a reservation at Ducasse's Parisian eatery is by far the city's most coveted. Book weeks, maybe months in advance, should you seek one of the few exclusive gilded tables. Naturally, Ducasse pays the utmost attention to every detail in his restaurant, from selecting the perfect china to tasting nearly every creation that leaves his kitchen.
What do you do differently than any other chef in the world?
Je travaille un peu plus.
He works a bit more.
Have we seen the end of traditional French cuisine as we knew it?
Je pense que la nourriture, c'est...
He believes that the cooking is a reflection of the times we live in, and of course that changes, and it is now a reflection of what we are living in at the moment.
We always used to think of French food with many sauces, perhaps more sauces than were necessary. How has he changed that with his own cooking?
The essence of his cooking is the taste of each product. Each little product can be tasted individually. It's not necessarily a case of having sauces.
One fine rule of Ducasse's cooking is all important. Buy the best possible produce that's available. Nowhere is that philosophy more visible than in his beautiful yet ultimately simple green asparagus with fresh morels in a light velouté sauce.
You are the author of several cookbooks in French, and now for the first time you are going to have an English language cookbook in America. What will be in it that we will find amazing and wonderful?
Firstly, in this book he's gathering together three very different themes from each of his restaurants. The Mediterranean theme from the Louis XV, from his auberge in Provence, Moustier-Saint-Marie, the Provençal cooking, and here in Paris the more northern Atlantic cooking. He believes that this book will be very rich in information in three different themes of cooking. It will be a very beautiful book.
But as they say, the proof is in the pudding. Time to sample Alain's cooking. Langoustines topped with Ocetra caviar in a white wine-infused cream sauce.
When you look at that, you see perfection?
Oui. Parce que c'est presque...
He believes that this is the dish which is perhaps the most zen in his la carte, the menu at the moment. For him, it's a product which is very rare, delicate, which is practically raw, which is practically transparent, and he believes that this is the way to the future.
And now, an American television exclusive inside Alain's kitchen as we watch the assembly of this easily prepped dish. You'll need langoustine and Ocetra caviar as the principal ingredients. For the sauce, add water, white wine, and the claws, and cream to a pan. Steam the langoustine's tails, halve them, then marinate the langoustine in lemon juice and oil. Top them off with my favorite food in all the world, caviar. Finally, arrange those langoustines on a bed of cream sauce.
Champagne wishes.
Santé. Santé.
For a real meal, Ducasse style, pair the langoustine with the house champagne, which has now been released here in the United States.
C'est très délicat. Bon appétit.
It is the best caviar and langoustine I have ever tasted.
Yes.
Une merveille, as the French would say. A superb ending to our gastronomic tour of France. Transportation was provided by Delta Airlines. Feel on top of the world with Delta, which transports more passengers worldwide than any other airline. Enjoy the ultimate in first-class service with the finest in-flight hospitality. Featuring delicious and healthy cuisine, Delta's chef Daniel Malzahn prepares a health-conscious menu inspired by spas around the world. His creations are not only a feast for the eyes, but are also filled with flavor without the fat. Delta complements their in-flight service with the finest wines, and their exclusive wine program, Venom, features rare vintages from around the world and offers new selections every 6 months. Operating more than 5,000 flights every day to 320 cities in 42 countries, it truly is Delta's pleasure to get you to the place you want to be. Visiting Paris and London, ride the Eurostar through the newly opened Channel Tunnel. Rail Europe truly offers Europe's most modern rail service. So we rendezvous again in the city of heavenly lights, the city of love. Was it an extraordinary experience?
Extraordinary experience. I will never forget this as long as I live, Robin.
What's your favorite part of the trip?
This is so difficult to say. At the beginning we spoke about food, and I have to say I guess the food remains. I'll never forget the picnic in the vineyard. simple picnic, but the best bread and the best whatever was inside the bread, the best sandwiches and a glass of wine.
What about all the
Joanne.
wine in the cellars?
Amazing. There's cellars from the 13th century. I'm mind-boggled. I can't wait to really think about all of it.
All right, well, thank you for joining us in fabulous France. We hope that you'll travel with us again next week as we continue to search the world for more fine food and great places. For Susan Lucci, I'm Robin Leach. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Au revoir and merci beaucoup. If you would like a copy of the recipes that you've seen,
Present